How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Greetings and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America from my flagship station in Atlanta, Georgia, where there's a Public Service Commission election and you people need to go stop the communists, go support the incumbents. Rich Johnson and Tim Echols, you got to go support the incumbents of the Public Service Commission election. Any one of you in Georgia, across the state of Georgia, the commies are coming for your power grid. You got to go stop them. That's not actually an exaggeration. They are far left radicals who actually their stated plan is to drive up the cost of power to you to convince you to support solar power. So your power rates are going to go up if the commies win. So please go take a stand in this election and vote for the incumbents to stop the commie takeover. Now, we got to talk about the shutdown. I don't really want to talk about the shutdown, but we kind of have to talk about the shutdown. I am told very reliably the Democrats will decide within the end of this week, which is tomorrow, how they want to wind down their shutdown. Because there is some thinking that they may want to reopen the government very shortly before health care subsidies expire and rates go up to renegotiate with the Republicans. However, some of the Democrats want to keep it shut until after November 1st because the Republicans will, they think, get the blame for the health care subsidies going away. So leave it closed until November 1st, let the Republicans get the blame, and then reopen it. Why? Because WIC runs out. This is from Meredith Lee Hill at Politico. Missed paychecks, canceled infrastructure projects, and mass firings haven't yet convinced congressional Democrats to change their government shutdown stance. But they are now facing down another pressure point threatening a program they've long championed benefiting millions of Americans. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which helps feed more than 40 million people, will start to run out of funds November 1st. The USDA is warning. At least 25 states plan to cut off benefits starting on that date, including California, the overwhelmingly Democratic state with 4.5 million SNAP recipients. The food aid cliff has largely flown under the radar as Democrats focus on another November 1st development, the launch of open enrollment for Affordable Care Act insurance plans in most states. They believe massive premium hikes, prompted by the expiration of key federal subsidies, will compel Republicans to relent and negotiate an extension at that time. So far, despite the possible food assistance fallout in just over a week, top Democrats are pushing ahead and refusing to shore up the votes to reopen the government. Asked Tuesday if the cliff would change his party's calculus, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said it would not. It should change Republicans' calculus, that they should sit it down and negotiate a way to address this crisis. Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts asked if it was worth pushing the shutdown beyond November 1st, given the risk of food aid lapsing. Replied, worth it to whom? To people who will lose their health care or to people who will lose their food? We're people who want Americans to have health care and food. The Republicans evidently don't care whether they have either. Here's the problem. They're going to run out the clock. This appears now to be the Democratic strategy. And I'm told it's the one that they have been weighing the most, and that is get past November 1st. That is next Saturday. Get past November 1st, and suddenly you can reopen the government. Why? You reopen the government on November 3rd. That's the Monday. And Affordable Care Act subsidies have gone away. They've expired. But you're only 3 days into WIC benefits expiring. So the poor will not go hungry, but healthcare rates will go up, and the Democrats think they can blame Republicans on that. At this point, and it's notable how Politico frames the story at the very beginning. Missed paychecks, canceled infrastructure projects, and mass firings haven't yet convinced congressional Democrats to change their government shutdown stance. It's not saying the Democrats are responsible for the shutdown, but it strongly implies the Democrats are behind the shutdown. And in fact, based on the Democrats' standard, it actually is them. I have a lot of people who follow me on social media, and I've been blocking the ones who aren't intellectually honest enough to admit the Democrats are the ones who shut down the government, because it's the same standard the Democrats have always had. You shut down the government if you don't support the clean resolution. The Democrats have supported this resolution repeatedly. It's the one Chuck Schumer first drafted, and now they're refusing to vote for it because they're trying to use it as leverage to negotiate something, and it's not going to work with the GOP. It's not going to work. The Republican position, very straightforward, is you reopen the government, then we'll talk. And that's not the Democratic position. The result is a shutdown with no end in sight for the public, but knowing that WIC is going to be running out here soon, that's probably the incentive that the Democrats need to reopen the government. Glenn Youngkin on Twitter just tweeted this out. The Democrats' shutdown will cause SNAP benefits to run out for over 850,000 Virginians in need starting November 1st. I refuse to let hungry Virginians be used as leverage by congressional Democrats. I'm declaring a state of emergency due to the Democrats' shutdown to protect hungry Virginians in need. This is an extraordinary action and is only necessary because of the shamelessness of congressional Democrats, including every Democrat in our delegation, who refused to pass a clean continuing resolution to open the federal government. I once again call on Senator Mark Warner and Senator Tim Kaine to end this nonsense and vote for the clean CR. The Commonwealth will provide food benefits until congressional Democrats put the interests of Virginians in need ahead of their politics. I thank President Trump and his administration for their help. Now, here's the problem. I understand he's the governor of Virginia and he wants to take care of Virginians. California is going to let their food benefits run out. Why not let the food benefits run out and blame the Democrats? See, this is why Glenn Youngkin is a better man than me, and he doesn't want to play politics. He's a term-limited governor. He doesn't care about the partisan nature of it. He actually wants to help the people of Virginia, and so he's going to help the people of Virginia, even as the Democrats are going to run WIC into the ground and run out the SNAP benefits. It's going to start causing Democrats to rethink. It's going to start calling Democrats. It's going to cause them problems. My suspicion is that the Democrats will cross November 1st, as I've been told, and they will decide then to reopen the government before WIC completely runs out, but after the healthcare subsidies go away and you're re-upping for next year, and they're hoping that'll put pressure on the Republicans when people have to re-up their Obamacare updates. I'm not entirely sure. We will see. Now, there's some breaking news happening as I'm talking. I need to shift gears here real quick. The president just put this up on social media. The federal government was preparing to surge San Francisco, California on Saturday, but friends of mine who live in the area called last night to ask me not to go forward with the surge and that the mayor, Daniel Lurie, was making substantial progress. I spoke to Mayor Lurie last night, and he asked very nicely that I give him a chance to see if he can turn it around. I told him I think he's making a mistake because we can do it much faster and remove the criminals that the law does not permit him to remove. I told him it's an easier process if we do it faster, stronger, and safer, but let's see how you do. The people of San Francisco have come together on fighting crime, especially since we began to take charge of that very nasty subject. Great people like Jensen Huang, Mark Benioff, and others have called saying the future of San Francisco is great. They want to give it a shot. Therefore, we will not surge San Francisco on Saturday. Stay tuned. And by the way, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Trump had the authority to do it. So the courts have said Trump could go into San Francisco. The courts have said it. But now Trump's saying he won't. Now, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I was told that Trump doesn't listen to people and change his mind. I was told that you can't persuade the president once his mind is made up. I was told the president would not listen to Democrats. Last I checked, the mayor of San Francisco is a pretty big lib. So is Mark Benioff, who gave a lot of money to defeat Donald Trump. I was told that you couldn't stop Donald Trump from doing this. Only the courts and the protesters could stop Donald Trump. And yet, a mayor from San Francisco, who is a big progressive, an heir to the Levi Strauss fortune, no less, called Donald Trump and said, please don't bring the troops. We're making progress and we'd like to do it ourselves. And Donald Trump says, well, we could do it faster and better. And the mayor's like, let us handle it. It'll cause a distraction. It'll bring in the rioters. The police will be tied down with that instead of fighting crime. We'd like to fight crime. We're making good progress. Please don't do it. And the president says, okay, good luck. Let us know if you need us. I thought that was the leadership Democrats said they wanted. I thought that was the leadership we were told by the press Donald Trump's not capable of giving, and that that's what was needed. And here is that leadership by Donald Trump being given to a Democratic leader of a city saying, we don't need you right now. Don't come. So we're not coming. I think that's great. By the way, I think the Democrats in Washington who say Donald Trump's not going to negotiate on the shutdown should probably look at this and look what Trump did. A Democratic mayor of a very progressive city reached out and said, hey, please don't come. We're making good progress. And Trump says, okay, I won't. And the Democrats in Washington say, we can't trust Trump to keep his word. We can't negotiate with Donald Trump. We got to have the health care benefits now. And Trump's been telling them now for almost a month, if you will reopen the government, I will negotiate with you on the health care subsidies. John Thune's even saying, we'll give you the vote. We'll give you a vote. We can't guarantee it passes, but we'll give you a vote. And the Democrats say, no, we don't trust you. You know, the Democratic leaders of San Francisco don't trust Donald Trump. But here he is saying, I won't come in. We'll see if he keeps his word. I bet he keeps his word. Democrats just want to fight. They don't actually have a path to win. They just want to fight. I was explaining to my kid an economics rule the other day that if 5 people come into a situation and they each have a strategy and they're all good at the game, they all have a good shot of winning. But if you all come in with your own strategy and you change your strategy to be someone else in the game strategy for no reason, you've increased your chances of losing. And the reason is because you've deployed a strategy you're comfortable with, each of you in the game. And when you change your strategy because someone else, you think, well, maybe they might have a competitive advantage, I'm going to change the strategy, you're now deploying a strategy that that person is more comfortable with than you. So don't change your strategy unless you're sure you're losing, and then be deliberative about it. The Democrats, they've changed their strategy because they think they're losing. They came into this against the Republicans and Donald Trump who had a strategy. And the Democratic strategy has now become, we must oppose everything Donald Trump likes and we must embrace everything Donald Trump hates. And so they're letting Donald Trump be the master of the game. They're letting Donald Trump run circles around them because they're playing by Donald Trump's rules. If Donald Trump wants to build a ballroom, it's the worst thing ever. If Donald Trump doesn't want to do something, well, whatever it is, it's the best thing ever. If Donald Trump wants to go to San Francisco, he must be stopped. If he doesn't want to go to San Francisco, I'm sure they'll complain about him abandoning the city now. The Democrats are letting Donald Trump control their emotions, control their actions and their responsiveness. They are completely reactive to him, and that's why they can't win right now. That's why he's running circles around them, and that's why they're preparing to cave on a government shutdown. Y'all, I have been waiting to tell you about Cove Pure. I'm so excited. So, I moved my radio show and podcast out of my house to a studio, and I'm in a big corporate building, and you don't really trust the water out of the pipes. Cove Pure is the fix. They've got Clearwave technology. It removes 99.9% of contaminants, lead, PFAs, pharmaceuticals, you name it. I've got one in my office, and I finally have stopped buying bottles of water thanks to Cove Pure. There's no need to call a plumber or drill any holes. I was able to do it. You just plug it in on your countertop. You set the temperature you want on the touchscreen. It tastes like water. That is, it doesn't have a taste. It's fantastic. Take back control of your family's health and drink water the way it's meant to be. Go to covepure.com/Eric right now. Get $200 off while supplies last. That's covepure.com/ERICK. covepure.com/Eric. Get $200 off. covepure.com/Eric. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. Phone number 877-973-7425. I sent out my s'mores recipe, s'mores Rice Krispies. Gonna have to bring them to the office, I think. So you take the Cinnamon Chex cereal with Rice Krispies, and you break up Hershey bars, and then you take little marshmallows, and you take a blowtorch to them, and you toast them, and you mix them together, and then you pour the melted marshmallows over them and form them into Rice Krispie treats. But it's like s'mores Rice Krispie treats, and they're pretty dang good. And I sent out the recipe. And if you want the recipe, you text the word recipe, singular, not plural, the word recipe, to 33777. Follow the link back. You can subscribe if you want. You can get the link to the recipe for the s'mores Rice Krispie treats. I made them 4 weeks in a row on Sunday night for the guys because I wanted to get the recipe right, and the secret was melting marshmallows, not using marshmallow fluff, because marshmallows have cornstarch in them, and when the cornstarch gets to boiling stage, it will begin to help coagulate and hold everything together. And so you got to melt the marshmallows. That's the key I discovered after 4 weeks of trying. Yes, 4 weeks of these poor guys on my front porch having to eat Hershey bars and marshmallows with Rice Krispies. And I tried Cinnamon Toast Crunch as well, but it turns out to be hygroscopic. It attracts water and gets soggy, so doesn't work. But you can text recipe to 33777 to get that recipe. I'm reviving the recipe list. And if you text Eric to 33777, you'll get the links to everything, including social media, where you can see the fantastic pictures of the s'mores. Now, let me tell you about my fantastic bank, Old Glory Bank. If you go to oldglorybank.com/Eric, oldglorybank.com/ERICK, you can get a bank account for yourself or your kid or your loved one who needs one. It's an online bank, and you can even deposit cash, unlike a lot of online banks. They figured this one out. You go to oldglorybank.com/Eric, so I get the credit. I got a no-fee checking account with them and a no-fee savings account with them early on with Old Glory Bank. And I love them, oldglorybank.com/Eric. You go there, you sign up with Old Glory Bank, and y'all, they're a good bank. They're a good bank, and they're good people. They're conservatives. They were started by conservatives for conservatives. They're headquartered in Oklahoma City. They're one of the fastest growing banks in the country right now. oldglorybank.com/Eric. They really are decent, fantastic conservative people, and you can even go to your gun store and they're not going to use your debit card. They're not going to penalize you, unlike a lot of progressives at woke banks now. But if you're a veteran, a first responder, active duty military, they have great discounts for you. Active duty military, they'll waive some fees for you for the premium accounts, including the interest-bearing checking account. Find out more at oldglorybank.com/Eric. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, terms and conditions apply. When we come back, the big scandal today, the mob bosses and the basketball players getting arrested for gambling. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. If you listen to my program, I don't run sports betting app ads. I don't run ads for sports betting on my program. Now, you may hear them, and if so, it's a local station that has done them, but I myself have been offered obscene amounts of money. Y'all know how badly I want to fly on a private plane. And I can't bring myself to take the money from the sports betting apps. Now, I got to nuance this one because I have some friends who take real offense to this and some who are involved in professional sports betting and prognostication and stuff. I don't care if you make bets. I really, if you're going to bet, I wish it was between you and your friends and not on one of these apps because I think you're being taken advantage of. And it bothers me now when I go on ESPN or any sports coverage and half the show is about the odds and how you should bet. People, in fact, players have actually come out and said that you're now encouraged to make parlay bets where these three things are going to happen in the game, and if they happen, you win a lot of money. And players have actually come out and said they have been harassed by fans because they cost the fans money by failing to do something or doing something that the fan bet against. And the players find it all miserable. I know kids in middle school whose parents are letting them place bets on these apps, and it is completely irresponsible for the parents. I have given my peace of mind more than once, sticking my nose in other people's business where it doesn't belong, but it's not healthy, and there are a lot of young men out there who are thinking this is all very normal, and they are ruining themselves. We're going to we have all these concerns about young men in this country right now, and no one's paying enough attention to the sports betting culture that's happening in the country, that's being fostered even in high school and middle school. And those of you who do this professionally, whatnot, spare me your lectures on how you're not supposed to do it. It's against law. It's supposed to be, and I know it's happening. We all know it's happening. And it's kind of like these demands that we not prosecute Lisa Cook or Letitia James for mortgage fraud. Well, everybody does it. I mean, if we prosecute just because everybody does it doesn't make it right. And I don't want to contribute to this culture of people thinking sports betting apps are great because, I've told you before, I have this Apple Sports app on my phone, on my iPhone. It's a wonderful app, and I can get the updates before people are getting them on, if they're watching streaming sports because of the delay. If you're trying to bet on something immediate in the sport, and I know someone's losing money because the play's already occurred and they don't know it. And I just think that there are people who are making so much money off of it now. Because they're making money, they think it's a good thing. They think there's nothing wrong with it. They've done it with their friends for years. They find it harmless. And there are a lot of people who are willing to turn a blind eye to harm because they're not getting harmed and they might be making money. But the overall societal effects, I think, are harmful. I don't want to be a part of it. And if it means I never get the money I would like to have in my career, I'm okay with that because I'll sleep well at night. And you can say, well, I'm sleeping well making the money. That's fine. And again, I don't mind you making bets. I have friends who come over on Sunday night for bourbon and cigars. We watch football. They're making bets. I don't really care. What I care is the culture of sports betting is sinking now into a culture of young men in high school and even middle school who think that's what you're supposed to do and that you're not really enjoying the game unless you're making money off the game or betting on the game. And that behavior is being encouraged and it is poisonous. And now we know some of these games are rigged. And I see there are people out there saying, well, but the sports betting apps, they're actually a good regulator to make sure this isn't happening because they want clean games. I think you're just pushing your justifications for wanting sports betting apps. I'm going to read you this from the New York Times. Indictments against current and former NBA players, and of course it's the NBA, including a well-known head coach who is a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame, were unsealed on Thursday in a pair of criminal cases involving professional athletes, including one scheme in coordination with mafia families. The charges were announced in Brooklyn, where Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, said the schemes involved tens of millions of dollars in theft, fraud, and robbery. One indictment detailed bets involving inside information that will raise questions about the integrity of NBA games and could implicate other players. The indictments come at a crucial time for the NBA during the opening week of the league season as it starts new broadcast deals worth $76 billion over 11 years. The investigation has been developed for years, federal and state officials said. It was coordinated by the FBI and the New York Police Department's Joint Organized Crime Task Force. It became public on Thursday morning when Terry Rozier, a guard for the Miami Heat, was arrested in Orlando, and Chauncey Billups, the coach of the Portland Trail Blazers and a former star for the Detroit Pistons, was arrested in Portland, Oregon. The NBA said Mr. Rozier and Mr. Billups were being placed on immediate leave. Mr. Rozier and a former NBA player and coach, Damon Jones, were involved in a sports betting scheme in which the defendants used non-public information about NBA athletes and teams to set up fraudulent bets, said Joseph Nocella Jr., the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. The defendants were accused of knowing where certain players would be sitting out or leaving games early, allowing them to set up the fraudulent bets. For example, in March 2023, Mr. Rozier was a starting guard for the Charlotte Hornets. He let other gamblers know he would leave a game early so that they could bet on the game and make hundreds of thousands of dollars that they later split with him, says Jessica Tisch, the commissioner of the New York Police Department. Mr. Billups, the Portland coach, and Mr. Jones participated in the other scheme that involved illegal poker games that were set up by organized crime families, the Bonanno, Gambino, Lucchese, and Genovese families, who would take cuts of the profits and use force to go after the debtors. The poker game scheme began in early 2019, and rigged games were soon set up across the country, including the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. Victims were lured into games to get close to sports celebrities like Mr. Billups and Mr. Jones, only to be cheated out of their money through technology like shuffling machines that had been altered to read the cards in the deck and predict which player at the table had the best hand, said Christopher Rea, the assistant director in charge of the FBI's New York field office. The gambling operation hustled unwitting victims and created a financial pipeline for La Cosa Nostra to help fund and facilitate organized crime activities. The gambling operation used technology that included specially designed contact lenses and sunglasses to read the backs of playing cards, which ensured the victims would lose big. Victims believed they were sitting at a fair table. Instead, they were cheated out of more than $7 million. One victim lost $1.8 million in rigged poker games. The two related cases involved more than 24 defendants, including 3 who were accused of participating in both schemes. For more than a year, federal prosecutors have focused on illegal gambling operations involving professional athletes. In 2024, a Brooklyn man was charged for his role in an illegal sports betting scheme involving Jonte Porter, a forward for the Toronto Raptors. Mr. Porter, who was barred for life by the NBA that year, pleaded guilty to wire fraud. The charges against Mr. Rozier and Mr. Billups are potentially the biggest hit to the NBA's reputation since 2007, when the referee Tim Donaghy was found to have bet on games. Rozier, 31, is in his 11th season in the NBA. Billups, 49, is in his 5th season as coach for Portland. You know, let's go to college sports here. Philip and I were talking about this before the show. There are a lot of kids making a lot of money with name, image, likeness, NIL. What about the guy on the team that's not making a lot of money? And he wants to make a lot of money. He sees the other players on the team making money. He's not making money. Why doesn't he get with some of his friends and they place bets? And he on the field throws the game. How's it going to be traced? How's it going to be traced? How are we going to... Where they're all using the sports betting apps. This undermines the integrity of the sport, and the rise of money in sports through gambling corrupts the sport. Now, some of this was unrelated to the sport. Some of it was poker matches, not basketball games, but poker matches run by the mob. You can see real easily how the mob starts getting its fingers into this with the players and finally convinces one of the players, hey, someone's going to rat you out to the FBI if you don't throw a basketball game we've got money on. That's where this all heads. It's corrupting. It's not good for society. It's not good for young men. And why have they not arrested Otani? I mean, I'm sorry, what? The NBA, this is they've had multiple situations like this in the NBA. You got a coach and players involved. This is only the beginning. This is not the end. That's my concern with sports betting. I can't. People get so defensive of this. I don't care if you're betting with your friends. And I know there are some people who really do care. There are some people who are yelling at me. I can feel it in the force. You call yourself a Christian and you're okay with your friends drinking bourbon and gambling? Well, I'm a Presbyterian. But it's the sports betting apps and the media's interest in the sports betting apps. And, to some degree, I would be less concerned about the sports betting apps, except every major sporting broadcast now is getting so much money to promote the sports betting apps and also the odds of games. It's absurd to me. In my office, I keep on CNN, CNBC, Fox News, and ESPN. And virtually every single ESPN show has something about the odds. In fact, I was talking to a guy who's on TV at ESPN, who's a Christian and not big into gambling, and said he doesn't have to participate, but the pressure, he expects he may not get his contract renewed because he refuses to participate in all the sports betting stuff that ESPN now pushes, and it costs them money for him not to do it. I had a station that airs me, and I thank them. I will leave their name out of it, but they were really concerned that I wouldn't do sports betting apps because a lot of the hosts on their station advertise for sports betting apps. So I'm not going to do it. They wound up putting me on. I thank them for standing up and doing that, but they weren't sure they wanted me on if I wasn't going to do a sports betting app. And if I got to not be on a station because I'm not willing to do the sports betting apps, I'm not going to be on the station. It doesn't make me feel comfortable to try to convince people, and I don't bet on sports. I don't keep up with sports enough, maybe golf, but even golf, I'm not going to go bet on Scotty Scheffler or Rory to do something. I want to enjoy the sport. There are, unfortunately, now way too many people who can't enjoy the sport unless they're placing bets and making money. And if the players do something that costs them money, they hate the player. It's like that poor kid. Have you all seen that viral video of the kid who's a Jets fan, and someone comes up to him after the game, and the kid's like, I hate this team. I was born into rooting for this team. I hate them. I hate them. Another Jets fan. Could be a Mets fan too, but this one's a Jets fan. Now you add the stress. I mean, if you were a Jets fan, every Jets fan out there is betting against their own team right now in football season. I mean, they're actively rooting against their team, that they're making money by rooting against the team they love, which you're not surprised by. But it's just it's infectious, and it's corrupting, and it's hurting young men. It's costing them money. I think I've told y'all before. I've got a friend of mine. He's on TV, and he let his son set up a FanDuel's account and gave him money, and the son has lost a ton of money, and the son is like 15 years old. I'm like, you're ruining your kid doing this. You got to stop. It's all fun and games until you got a bunch of young men who are indebted up to their eyeballs because they've been wasting their money on sports betting. And our entire culture right now is designed around inducing them to do it. And now we know these games are being rigged. And thank goodness the FBI saw this. But this is just one example of it. How many more are out there? And now do college football. And the kids who aren't getting the NIL money, they're trying to find ways to cash in. I just think that we got to reconsider this. I just think that, okay, yeah, here it is. This is the kid who went viral. Kobe, I don't think there's bad language. I've seen this clip so many times. I don't remember the kid saying anything, but this is the clip that went viral of the kid. I feel so bad for the kid. He's a teenager.
See, get your thoughts on the game.
I hate this team. I was born into this, and I'm not going to ever – I'm always a Jets fan, but, I hate this team.
The kid, he looks so dejected and disgusted. leaving the stadium, too. I hate this team. I'm always going to be a Jets fan. I hate this team. He probably hates his parents for having given birth to him up there where he's a Jets fan, too. He hates the team. I feel so bad for that kid. And he's gone viral. Now imagine adding the pressure of the sports betting to it. Y'all, we got to listen. And again, I'm sorry, my friends who are offended by me saying this, some of you who are in the industry, but it's just, if you can't see it's corrupting to so many young men right now who are losing lots of money, it's, if you want to bet, but this entire culture of the news now and the sporting news being so dedicated to giving you the odds to encourage you to play bets and the ESPN broadcast. In fact, when the news broke this morning, somebody told me they heard it on a sports radio station and the segment was sponsored by one of the sports betting apps. Literally, there's news about the FBI arresting people for engaged in sports betting, and that segment of the news was sponsored by one of the sports betting apps. This doesn't end well for a lot of people. Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Democratic mega donors have snubbed Kamala Harris headlining a DNC fundraiser. This is actually kind of funny. The Washington Free Beacon reporting this. Reviewing documents from the Wall Street Journal, major Democratic donors turned down the Democratic National Committee's request to host a fundraiser, with one sending a profanity-laced message in response. At one point earlier this year, the DNC reached out to big donors to host a San Francisco area fundraiser headlined by Kamala Harris. Most of the donors rejected the request, the Wall Street Journal reported, citing individuals familiar with the conversations. While the DNC eventually found a host, the fundraiser brought in less than the committee had hoped. Upon receiving the invitation, one donor replied with a profanity-laced rejection, the report noted. Others said they didn't want to give to the party unless it produced a plan to win. Those who declined told the National Party they had commitments and couldn't make it work. Though nobody wants to help the DNC. And by the way, the Republicans have like 5 times as much money as the Democrats right now in the bank. Now, one of the groups helping the Republicans out there mobilize the vote for next year and mobilize the vote for public policy right now is Americans for Prosperity. They're the largest leading grassroots group in the country. They happen to be on the right, and they would love to get you involved at afpvolunteer.com. Americans for Prosperity across the country organizes an army of volunteers to keep them informed about public policy and teaches them how to advocate for that sound, common sense, conservative public policy. Whether you're just talking to your friends or you're talking to your school board, your county commission, your city government, your state government, your legislature, or your congressman, all you have to do is go to afpvolunteer.com and find out how to get engaged. They got chapters in every state. I go around the country helping them, give speeches, motivate the base. They're great people. They teach you a lot. They believe in free markets and free people, small government, school choice, deregulation, permitting reform to help small businesses. You can find out more at afpvolunteer.com. That's afpvolunteer.com. Sign up with Americans for Prosperity today.